Alright, from here we're gonna start playing with that, and first let's drop a file cache. So we're gonna save the different iteration we are making. I'm gonna call that cleave.$frame just so that it remember the frame we are at, and save to disk. Okay, let's load from disk, and actually let's do the same in here. We're gonna call that cleave.rock.$f and save to disk, load from disk, re-enabled, and same deal, cleave.underwater.$frame, save to disk. And actually we should set that to save current frame, because if we are on frame 10, and it's actually gonna save the frame 1 otherwise. So let's make sure everything is set to save current frame actually. Now back right at the beginning where we drew this mask, we're gonna set a switch node, and this switch well, like it says, gonna switch between different results. So I'm gonna duplicate the draw mask, and we're gonna draw different kind of shape, and we keep plugging that into the switch. So feel free to make as many as you want. In that case, I'm gonna do like 4, something like that. And let's set that to $frame. So now if we change frame, it's changing shape. It's pretty handy. One detail though, if your frame range doesn't start at 0 and it's actually 1, you want to leave it to 1, then just connect the switch this way so that you are sure that you got the first input right. Now, okay, that's the look of the height field. If we change the frame, we see that it's updating properly. Okay, well, that's pretty fun to see all the different results, and let's see how it looks with the final result, well, at least till this point, because we want to make sure to close this mesh properly. So it looks like the polyfill did a pretty decent job in that situation, so that's great. Let's move on. So the voxel size in that case was way too low, so let's make it safe and say 5. You still conserve the details in the end, so that's pretty neat. And from there, let's save to disk. Let's make sure it's save current frame as well, and we can reload everything. So you can see we can swap now from the different inputs thanks to the cache. It's pretty reactive. And save to disk for the underwater. And we're gonna do the same for this frame actually. Save to disk for frame 3. And well, of course you do that for all the frames that you have. All right, so if I switch between all those frames, it's updating pretty fast. I'm gonna get rid of that, and the output underwater should actually be after the cache. And we'll import this state in a different context. So let's go back to object mode. So grid, let's rename that water, put maybe a color, and let's drop a new geo context that we're gonna call underwater ground. Dive inside, and let's drop an object merge. In there, we're gonna go and grab the output underwater, like so. So now we got the ground into a separate context, which will be a bit more handy. Yeah, and everything is updating fine. Houdini is very great for that. It's so flexible and got so many controls in the end that you can generate a large amount of stuff very quickly. So in this file cache, I'm gonna save the geometry because we didn't save this level yet. And actually in the mask, we're gonna do a bit of optimization. Right now the mask is running all around this volume, and we want the scattering of our fracture to run just on those face here. So I'm decreasing the blend width, and probably we should increase distance threshold. Yeah, something like that. So with, without, so this way we can really control that the scattering of the fracture will be just on those face. And what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna merge the result of this with the fractured object, convert it back into polygons. So we're gonna group those objects into a group named base mesh that we're gonna transfer on the final volume geometry with a group transfer. So I don't think I showed the recording of that part because it didn't end up working very well and it's fairly slow. So yeah, as you can see, well, we could of course increase the distance threshold, and that should update a bit better. But yeah, in that case, it's just potentially gonna crash. Okay, so never mind. We're gonna find another way to deal with that, and the solution is gonna be a mask builder. So instead of using groups, we're gonna use the color attribute that is based on the mix of those two objects. And let's use the enable object and increase the threshold. All right, so from here, we're basically gonna say that we wanna delete the black faces so that we'll optimize a bit the model and get rid of all the faces we don't need. So I'm doing a delete by expression and just set at cd.air greater than 0 and delete non-selected. So this way we optimize the mesh to 800k polygons against 1500k, which is pretty much half. So that's pretty cool. It will probably save a bit of time loading geometries and stuff, so why not doing it? So there are a few holes. Maybe I should have increased the distance threshold a bit more, like 35 to be safe. Yep. So yeah, just making sure there's no holes. And yeah, that's still a fair amount of polygons. And let's move this cache now back at the end and save the result. And we're gonna do that for all the mesh of every frame. Frame 1 is done, and let's load the cache. So those are the exported geometry that have been cached, on which we're gonna be able to do some look dev. Well, that's pretty fun. I'm thinking we're gonna change a bit the look. Still looking a bit blobby. Still think I will bring some more changes later. I'm gonna add one more frame, and instead of having a cliff that share one edge, we're gonna make it look like an island basically. So that will be for frame 4. So if I head to frame 4, we got that. Let's see how it looks. Yep, exactly. Oh, that's the underwater. Okay. So this kind of cliff might be interesting, like for making a landscape like Utah. All right, let's cache this and load the geometry. So this way, it's actually a little reminder of the workflow. If it's confused, I'm gonna repeat it several times anyway, so. And finally, transferring, I'm actually gonna disable that. And that's what we get. So it's pretty interesting, but as I said, we probably gonna play a bit more with the settings and try to unblobify some areas. Okay, yeah, definitely it's gonna need some changes, so let's do that in the next part.